It's a Demi.
It's a Demi.
It's a Demi.
It's a dummy!
Welcome to Don't Evolve Me, the place like Ash catches Pikachu. We don't evolve, we just level up. And I guess my hiatus is over. And it's a good thing. Originally my first episode was going to be State of Review. We're going to do the Dark Knight trilogy, and that didn't happen because we got a bunch of news. And I couldn't even believe it yesterday because I just got done with work. I was sitting down, I was pretty burnt out, and I was starting to look at my phone. I'm like, wait, I keep seeing like all these news about Star Wars films. And when I see news, sometimes I don't always take it as like a actual thing. There's a lot of like rumors that go out, and I didn't necessarily believe that it was true that they just dropped like four different like movies or series that they were going to come out. I didn't realize that they announced it. And then I like saw it from a source that I trust. And I was like, oh, oh. And I kept doom scrolling on my phone, and I saw that they released news on The Last of Us. And again, today, more news. And I'm like, this is a lot of news to just throw on a first podcast. So I'm like, you know what? Gotta do a Demi. Emergency Demi. Hiatus is over. Season 2 has begun. Welcome to my channel. It's gonna be YouTube. This is gonna be podcast, all of it. So let's get into it. I'm gonna get into The Last of Us news first before we get really into the Star Wars news, because there's a lot of things to talk about for the Star Wars. So let's get into The Last of Us. And the first big news, one dropped yesterday on January 9th, casting news, and then casting news dropped today. They have casted the role for Abby. And I think this is who was rumored for a while, so I'm not too surprised that they officially announced that Caitlin Devers, or Devers? I think it's Caitlin Devers, is going to be playing as Abby. And I'll be honest, when I first saw the picture, again with the casting, I didn't really see it. Not that I'm concerned. I trust them. I do. And I see that she's a talented actress. She wasn't in anything that I really watched. I know she's in Justified, and I watched a little bit of Justified, but I didn't watch all of it. And I was looking through her filmography, the TV show she's in, and the biggest role that I like recognize her from was the role of Cassie Drake in Uncharted 4, which I'm like, oh, all right, she already worked for Naughty Dog, so this makes sense. And I saw a couple other photos of like her dressed similar to like what Abby dresses, and I kind of see it now, only kind of. But the big thing I'm like, I don't necessarily know how they're going to do is the fact that Abby in the game, she is portrayed as like this massive female. Not like massive, but like she's bigger, she's masculine, she's strong. She plays a lot like Joel. And Caitlin Devers, pardon me, is only 5'2", 5'3" if we're being gracious. And I don't know if I would say it concerns me, but I'm just curious to know how they're going to play her. And I trust them. I do. I'm just curious because I don't see initially how they're going to. Because I'm pretty sure Bella Ramsey is taller than Abby. And how is that going to work? Because Abby's such a like menacing, not menacing. She's intimidating. She's masculine, big muscles. She's just like, she's imposing. She's threatening. Whereas Ellie is more scrafty. She's smaller, scrafty, and that's how it's in the games. So I'm just curious. That's the word. I'm curious how they're going to pull it off, but I trust them. The other big news is they cast the role of Jesse, with the actor Young Mancino. Apparently, he's on the show Beef. I don't know much about him. I will say, casting wise, when it comes to appearance, looks the part. Can't really complain. So again, I trust them. I talked to Michael. I asked what his thoughts on the casting role. If you don't know, Michael is the one who does a lot of the Last of Us reviews with me, and sadly, it won't be until probably next year until we really get the chance to talk about the show again until season two comes out. But his remarks were, "I'm not worried about the portrayal or like the appearance; it's the betrayal." I got that reversed. He thinks he trusts them, and he states that the performance is what matters, and I agree. Like ultimately, if Caitlin Devers pull off the role, if she could portray like Abby, I'm not really going to be concerned about the look. I'm not, because you can be imposing without being big. I'm just curious to see how they're going to pull it off. And it's not surprising because she was rumored for a while now. It's just surprising that like they got an actress who's only like 5'2", 5'3". You think that, cast somebody a little bit bigger, give that like more of that imposing presence, but you know what? We'll see. I'm not complaining too much about it. So I'm just excited. I wasn't expecting this. I was like waiting for this news, waiting to see who they're going to cast because I'm just excited about the show. I'm excited for season two. I feel like there's a lot more to do with season two than season one. I love the story for season one. I love the story of the first game, but it's pretty like straightforward. Where season two, I feel, has a lot of room to like maneuver and go like a different path. And so I'm just really excited to see what they go or what they do with it. All right, let's get into some Star Wars news. So they released like a bunch of informations, and the four big ones I've seen that they officially announced was that Mandalorian and Grogu are getting a movie directed by Jon Favreau, which I'm not necessarily surprised that they're announcing a movie, but I'm surprised that they didn't announce season four. I was more expecting season four than a movie, and this announcement makes it seems like a movie's coming before a season. And this just more like raises questions to me. Don't get me wrong, I'm excited. Like more Star Wars stuff. Dave Filoni is running the uh, Star Wars universe now, which good move on Disney's part. He should be running it. Clone Wars, Rebels, like all of his stuff is like good to great. And I would say it's probably more leaning to good than the great. There's no Andor moment with Dave Filoni, I would think. There's no moment that's like, wow, like that's amazing. Andor was that. I think the only moment that was really close, like there's a few episodes that was like almost jaw dropping. The season finale for Clone Wars, the actual season finale with series finale with Ahsoka versus Darth Maul, and then her escape from Order 66. That's up there. So with the news of him taking over, I'm excited because I know I'm going to get good Star Wars and potentially great Star Wars. I feel like there's a ceiling to his stuff, to his shows, but we'll see. I also really like Ahsoka. Like I know there's a lot of critics for Ahsoka, but I thoroughly enjoyed what he was trying to do, and I enjoyed the branching of the lore. And that's what Dave Filoni's really great at, is just expanding the lore, and that's what I'm like really excited about. So him dropping this news, I'm all for. But back to Mandalorian Grogu, I have questions. And I think my biggest question that I had is why are they releasing a movie? And the reason why I'm asking this is because this is where if I'm going to be concerned or excited. Like the answer is going to determine one of those things. Because if the answer is, hey, we have a really good story idea that's better served as a movie than a TV show, if that is like someone had an idea, whether it's John Favreau, whether it's Dave Filoni, and they all got together and they're like, yeah, this has to be a movie. Like this idea is so good, this has to be a movie. If that was the reason why they decided to make a movie, yes. Like I'm excited. Like I trust them. I trust John Favreau. I trust Dave Filoni. If this is an idea that they're excited behind, I'm all for a movie. all for it, excited. And I'm excited regardless. But if the motivation for this movie isn't the fact that they had a good idea, but rather it's Disney saying, hey, we need a movie that sells money. Let's do Mandalorian Grogu because people love Mandalorian and Grogu. People would love, they would fill the seats to see Grogu. That's where I'm a little more concerned because I don't see what story they're going to go. I don't like the villain wasn't killed off, but I like we've already seen them. I'm blanking on the name. It's the guy with the dark art. I'm blanking on his name. It's the main villain of Mandalorian. It's gonna come up later, and I'm gonna be like, but I'm blanking on it. I do this often. Really hate it. It's really unfortunate the fact that I make these videos and I like to do it in like one shot based the top of my head, but then I forget. It's bad. But yeah, I don't know what story they're gonna make. Like I don't know what story that they have to tell. And it really feels like to me, it just seems like Disney kind of came up and say, hey, get Grogu on the big screen, seats, they're gonna be filled to see this movie. And they're right. I mean, I'm gonna go. Huh. But I'm afraid this movie is just gonna be another mid film that makes money for Disney. And that's where I'm concerned. I think it's still gonna be good regardless, but like I want a good reason for them to make a movie, like a truly good reason. Anyway, I digress. Moving on. They announced Ahsoka season two. I think that's just kind of the duh. Like we all expected it. The first season ended not necessarily on a cliffhanger, but it ended where it's like there's a lot more story to be told. It was just like, what's the next story? What's the next place that we're going to see these characters? And I think it's going to be Ahsoka season two. I'm excited for it. I'm seeing what I'm curious what they'll do with like Balin with the fact that they're in a different galaxy with the lore. I'm excited for it. Curious. Yeah. Other big news, Heir to the Empire, directed by Dave Filoni, has been announced that I think we all expected it. Anyone who's in the circle of like Star Wars. I mean, they already Thrawn is in Ahsoka season one. It seems like that he's the next big villain. Yeah, I mean, I don't have much more to say for it. I'm excited for it. I hope it's a good movie rather than like a season or like a series finale for the Mandoverse, but we'll see. And the next one, a little like I heard rumors about it, but I'm kind of excited they announced it. The Dawn of the Jedi directed by James Mangold. Yeah, I believe he's the one who did Logan. I don't know much more other than the fact it's like the beginning of the Jedi. And I think that's just a really cool starting place. Like I want more Star Wars. I want more fresh Star Wars. And the idea of going like how many years, hundreds or thousands of years to the beginning of the Jedi intrigues me. And this is a director that for the most part I'm excited like he's a director that I'm not necessarily like excited for, but more again curious like, oh, he's made Logan. Oh, he's made some good films. Yeah, I'm excited to see what he has to bring to the table. Um, So yeah, and the other big one was they confirmed the new Jedi Order film with Ray Skywalker, which is like it sounds right, but also doesn't sound right at the same time. I'll be honest, I'm excited for this film too. I'm excited to see like the future of Star Wars because that's another like area that like we don't have a lot of information on and we don't know about. And I feel like that's a good way to like for them to move on from the new trilogy into like a whole new story. So yeah, and that's basically all the news we got, which is a lot. And I'm excited. So I kind of just want to go over the list of like what Star Wars is coming out soon. So in 2024, we're getting four Star Wars projects. We're getting The Skeleton Crew by Jude Law, or yeah, Jude Law, pretty sure it's Jude Law, which is brand new content. The Acolyte, 100, I think it's 100 years before uh episode one. So we got two like brand new shows without reoccurring characters. I'm excited for it. Like a little nervous. I'm like, I hope it's good, but new Star Wars content, different era. Yeah. Then we got Bad Batch season 3. It's a good show. It, the one thing I really like about that show, Bad Batch, is it just shows us the after effect, like what happens after the Empire starts taking over. Like, how does that transition look from the Republic to the Empire? And it's just kind of like a cool look at that time period because we really don't get that. And it's also cool to see it from like an ex stormtrooper point of view. But I'm also will say that I'm happy that they're ending season 3 because I feel like this is a show that isn't really made to last. It's more just a look. So season 3 is coming out, and I'm excited for it. I'm curious to see what Dave Filoni has in store for us. Tales of the Jedi, I believe it's season 2. That's one of those like shows. Season 1 was like really cool side tales. It's like Clone Wars, but it's like not Clone Wars at the same time. I don't know. It's really cool to look at like Count Dooku, some stories on him, some stories on Ahsoka that we never hear about. And I'm excited to see what they do with season 2 and what Jedi they decide to like focus on. I hope it's not Ahsoka. I wouldn't mind more Count Dooku stories. It's again, Dave Filoni's great at expanding lore, and that's why I really like that show. What's coming out into 2025 and beyond? Andor season 2, which that's the one. Andor is amazing. Like it's so amazing. I don't believe it's Star Wars. So season 2, I have no idea where they're going with it. I'm just excited for it. Ahsoka season 2, as we already talked about, Taika Waititi, his film, whenever that come is going to come out, if it's going to come out, it's still in development. He's still writing it. I'll be excited when I see it. Then we got can't even speak. Dawn of the Jedi. Then we got Heir to the Empire, the New Jedi Order. And then the things that we don't know about that they haven't really talked about is Mando season 4. Is Mando done? I feel like Pedro Pascal's done with the role. And I don't know how I feel if Mandalorian season 4, like John Favreau said he's written it and they're working on it. So I'm just curious why they didn't announce it. But we don't know. Book of Boba Fett season 2. I don't think anyone's asking for it. I would like to see Boba Fett kind of show up, but season 2, not really one of those shows I'm excited about overly. And then we got Lando, uh, Donald Glover. Will they? Won't they? I don't know. I really like I really like Donald Glover's Lando Calrissian. Like he was the best part of Solo, like hands down the best part. And that movie was underrated. It's pretty solid. So all right, I don't have much more for you guys. That's about it. I just wanted to talk about it. I just want to get my thoughts out. I'm excited for Last of Us season 2. I'm really excited for Star Wars. I could sometimes when they announce that, I wish they just could make it like that. Like they had like the Infinity Gauntlet and their Thanos, and they could just make their product and we could just watch it instantaneously. Because I'm excited for it, but I'm like, God, it's gonna be like 2 or 3 years before we see much of any of it. Maybe Ahsoka season 2. But anyway, what are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments. Let me know via email, social media. What do you think about the Star Wars news? What do you think about the Last of Us news? Did they get the casting right for Last of Us? Are you excited about the projects for Star Wars? All right, I am done. This was a demi. Don't involve me. Out. Hey. Calling now, that's just easy. Let me show you how it's like. Bum 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 bum.